How many four-letter words can I use on that?
Trying to switch to a double. Cheddar is driving. Nothing yet. Takedown, Michael Cheddar.
Oh, Nick, I'm a top guy, so I love top wrestling.
Hale trying to sink him. He does. Maximus Hale the fall.
So I think that wrestling is the greatest sport on earth.
What's going on, everybody? Another edition of On3 Wrestling coming at you here after week 3 of the college wrestling season. Of course, I'm your host, Nick Costco. Solo episode today. Big thanks to former NC State 5-time All-American Trent Hidley for coming on the show last week for a little crossover with Pack Mentality ahead of the Rutgers NC State duel, which I'll get into just momentarily over at the Jersey Jostle in Toms River, courtesy of Journeyman Wrestling. That was a great event. I was actually on the air for that one when it came to the radio side of things. So I haven't done radio actually in probably about 5 years now. So it's nice to be back on the radio airwaves for college wrestling. I haven't done that since I was a student, and I haven't done it for any sport actually in about 5 years now. So that's on ScarletKnights.com if you want to listen to a replay of that match, Rutgers NC State, on ScarletKnights.com. So we actually will start right there. Of course, another duel to get into with Missouri, Virginia Tech. That was the other big duel. Oklahoma State looked really good. Utah Valley's impact as well in terms of their presentation. So I'll do a little tidbits and news and notes towards the end as well. And of course, got to recap the All-Star Classic a little bit too, but I'll start with Rutgers and NC State. One of the marquee duels of this past weekend. It was the marquee duel of the 4 teams that were in Toms River, which was Rutgers, NC State, Princeton, and LIU. Rutgers defeated LIU 37-3 before taking on the Wolfpack. So Wolfpack coming in number 7. Rutgers was 15 when it came to the last NWCA coaches poll. I know Intermat, Flow Wrestling, and a bunch of other outlets have differing dual team rankings, but went by those. Pretty good duel as expected. Head coaches Scott Goodale and Pat Papalizio love to put on big shows, and it's nice to actually see these two teams duel each other because it's a very rare occurrence that you see Rutgers against NC State in a Big Ten ACC matchup. Shame it wasn't in Jersey Mike's Arena, as I know Rutgers fans were disappointed in that, but it was still an awesome atmosphere in Toms River North High School in that RWJ Barnabas Arena. So when you look at what happened in this match, got off to a rough start if you're Rutgers. Dean Peterson, who suffered an upset loss earlier in the day against LIU. Injury defaulted in this one. It looked like he got concussed. He went into the concussion protocol in the back, could not continue. But the superstar that Vince Robinson could be for NC State, boy, he looked really good. He was up 11-4 at the time of the injury. He's still undefeated on the season. He's probably going to be the guy moving forward, at least in my estimation, at 125 for NC State. Probably a podium contender the way he's wrestling right now. Don't know what the situation is going to be with Jacob Camacho, whether he is going to be just not in the lineup. Maybe he goes up to 133. Because obviously there are questions of who's the steady starter for NC State and that weight class. But NC State got off to a great start. Then Dylan Shawver follows it up with for Rutgers getting a win over Troy Holman. And then the big match that was right at 141, it was Joey Oliveri, Kai Orini, 22 versus number 7 in the country at 141. Questionable locked hands call. Looked like, from my vantage point, that would have sent the match into overtime. Orini wins that one 2-1. It's a very well wrestled match, though. Not a lot of points scored. Pretty much the escape, the riding time, and then the point for Oliveri was due to a locked hands call earlier in the match. But both these guys were shooting a lot, getting deep in on shots, defending really well. Just a really well-wrestled match. Not a lot of scoring, though. But that swung the duel back in the Wolfpack's favor. Then Andrew Clark knocked off Coy Biskins. A very exciting match that was coming down to the wire. Clark got a late takedown to get Rutgers back into it. It was 9-6 at that point. But then you saw there were some difference makers there for NC State, as Ed Scott, an All-American in his own right, ranked top 10 in the country, took down Rutgers freshman phenom Connor Hare. Tech fall 20-5. He just really poured it on. But then the other Rutgers true freshman that stepped in, Andrew Barbosa, I love seeing what he did, and now he's up at 65. He was originally going to be probably a 57-pounder, but he seems to be growing a little bit more. And then the Rutgers staff gave him a shot at 65. He knocks off number 20, Derek Fields, 8-6. Great match. Cut the lead to 14-9 with 4-11. That's where Rutgers had the advantage going into the next few weights, because you had guys out of the last 4 weights, Rutgers was ranked ahead with their individuals, ahead in 3 of those 4 weight classes at 74, 97, and heavyweight. Maddie Singleton knocks off Jackson Tolley 9-6 with a takedown right near the buzzer. Back and forth match, exciting one, but That kind of swung the duel back in the Wolfpack's favor. Dylan Fishback handled Brian Soldano 8-3, and then John Poznansky kept Rutgers mathematically alive with a Tech fall at 197. Then the big match where, again, Rutgers is down by 6 at this point, so you need a pin from Jaroslav Slavakuski to go to criteria, and Isaac Trumbull, who's ranked 7th. Slavakuski's number 4 in the country at heavyweight. Isaac Trumbull gets the 2-0 decision win. Now, if they wrestled again, we probably would see a little bit more offense, but he controlled the match, got the escape point, and then got the riding time as he rode out Slavakuski in the third period. So I want to see that match wrestled again. I think those are 2 of the best guys in the country. Of course, Gable Stevenson's back, so now everyone's chasing the former 2-time national champ in that weight class. But very well wrestled duel. NC State just had a little bit too much and won the swing bouts. Again, 141 and 174, the 2 that come to mind. Again, if they go the other way, it goes in Rutgers' favor. And again, I know that's been a theme for Rutgers in the last 5 years, where they're in that top 15 range, trying to crack through the top 10, just missing out on these wins. So tough loss for the Scarlet Knights, but a good day from NC State. They're now 4-0 on the season. They defeated Princeton earlier in the day as well. So one of those duels where you would love to see. You'd start to see it at NC State, at Rutgers, or again on a neutral site in Toms River. It was really well wrestled duel, a lot of excitement, back and forth action as well. The other big duel was Missouri and Virginia Tech, because that was a top 10 duel. Missouri got a little handled by Virginia Tech. I was a little surprised by that one. Eddie Ventresca, I guess, got it off rolling for Virginia Tech at 125. Now, when he's healthy, he's an All-American just a couple of years ago. When he's healthy, he's one of the better 125-pounders in the country. He got a 6-5 decision win. Connor McGonigal, Sam Latona, Caleb Henson, and then Rafael Hippolito Jr. all got wins. So Virginia Tech just rolled in the first 5 weights. And then you saw Missouri start to battle back a little bit with Cam Steed, obviously Keegan O'Toole. A big match, by the way, at 174. How about Keegan O'Toole and Lennox Wallach? Wallach, great wrestler from Columbia, is grad here at Virginia Tech. He's ranked top 4 in the country right now. O'Toole majors him 13-5, and that kind of gave Missouri some life. Colton Hawks upset TJ Stewart at 184. And then you go to the next 2 weights where Andy Smith, he's been a great 97-pounder so far for Virginia Tech this year. Got the 12-9 decision, so that pretty much locked it up, I would say, for Virginia Tech. And then Jimmy Mullen, who's now starting full-time this year at heavyweight for Virginia Tech, got the ranked win over Seth Nitzel. And those were 2 close matches where, they were both decisions, so it's a 6-point swing. If it goes the other way, Virginia Tech only wins by a point. So it was essentially locked up after 184 anyway. And again, Virginia Tech just built themselves a great lead over the first 5 weights. But it was very, very surprising to see how that went, considering Latona got a minor upset for Virginia Tech. Then you saw Caleb Henson, major decision. Doesn't really surprise me. 149, defending national champion. But 57, Hippolito, who I really like watching. He's a very unorthodox guy. He's got a lot of jiu-jitsu background with him as well. I believe he's still a purple belt, not a brown belt at this point. He defeated James Conway. I looked at the score, 11-3, a major decision. Didn't really expect that. That was more of a toss-up bout. Missouri had to have that one, but obviously with bonus points in play, really vaulted Virginia Tech to winning that duel. So again, another great duel, 2 top 10 teams, what you want to see, but the Hokies just really, really came out swinging. It was something that I was very interested in seeing on Friday night. Got the chance to see it on a little bit on a replay. So again, just a great job by Virginia Tech to get that win. Let me pull up Oklahoma State real quick here, because again, they were in action in full, and obviously the David Taylor era is underway. They cruised past Oregon State 36-3, so that was a big win on Sunday, and I believe there was an upset. Now, yes, there was. 197. Luke Serber, how about him? Luke Serber's top 20 guy, really respectable wrestler, pretty good wrestler around the country. Took off Trey Munoz, and everyone knows that Trey Munoz for Oregon State is arguably the top wrestler. My goodness, he just went off. 5-0 decision, shut him out. Big upset. It was the highlight of the duel for the most part, considering Oklahoma State pretty much handled the Beavers there. Oregon State's only win actually came at 157. Ethan Stiles pulling off the upset over Teague Travis. Now, I don't want to put too much stock, and this goes back between the Missouri-Virginia Tech duel, the Rutgers-NC State duel. I'm not going to put too much stock into these massive upsets in terms of the disparity in the rankings this early in the season. Again, as I'm recording this, it's still November, right? And we're not even to the midseason tournaments like Midlands or the Southern Scuffle or the Vegas tournament. We're not even there yet. So there are lineup decisions that still have to be made for certain teams. guys get hot once we get into the conference duels and the conference season. So not taking too much stock in it. They're good measuring sticks, and it's very exciting, especially when you have good duels as well. But I'm not going to take too much stock into upset wins like that. But this match was close in a couple of these individual bouts. And Troy Spradley got a sudden victory win over Maximo Renteria. That was very close to start the duel, so Oregon State almost got off into a great start. Some of the other results, again, Oklahoma State just really controlled this one. The Styles upset over Teague Travis was the big one in sudden victory, but once you got to the upper weights for Oklahoma State, Cam Amin, Dean Hamidi, they handled business. Dustin Plott, all bonus point victories. Obviously, Luke Serber pulling off the upset really was the highlight of that duel. Then Wyatt Hendrickson, again, he's just mowing people down right now at heavyweight, and I'm sure he's very thrilled that Gable Steveson is back. So those were some of the big results I saw from the either the big duels or the big brands this weekend that really kind of stood out to me, obviously. And then I wanted to give a hat tip to Adam Hall and the entire Utah Valley program because, again, they're only 1-3 on the season. They've already wrestled a tough schedule. They beat CSU Bakersfield, lost to Stanford, had tough matches against Nebraska and Oklahoma State back-to-back, but they've put on a great show. And you go back to that Friday night match, which, again, involves Oklahoma State. The presentation, I just saw a lot of people raving about it over social media and just how they want to keep building dual meets and building Utah Valley as a big-time wrestling brand out in the Midwest and as you get further out towards the West Coast. And Hall's the right guy for the job. I remember talking to him over the summer. I'm really impressed by him, what he did as an assistant coach over at NC State, and him now trying to build this program into more of that Midwest/West Coast area type of power. And it helps that he got Terrell Barraclaw to come back closer to home, the Utah native, and he obviously knocked off Cam Amin against Oklahoma State, so that was a big win for Utah Valley. The other win, they got Hayden Drury to beat one of Oklahoma State's other 141-pounders. So again, they had a couple wins. They put on a great show, and the highlight, I'm glad. I'm pretty sure everyone does a random draw where they want to start weights, but I am glad they ended up finishing at 165 in that duel, kind of like that main event feel. Terrell Barraclaw, and you have Cam Amin, 2 top 6 guys at the time in the country, and he got the win in tiebreakers 5-4. So I know Utah Valley was up against Oklahoma State, losing 38-6, but my goodness, that's just a great way for you to end a duel and to say, we're gonna put out a great product. We're gonna keep improving this product. We're gonna still recruit the best guys. We have great individuals. We're gonna keep building a very solid team. Here's the presentation. I saw their walkouts. They had graphic walls. It was insane. Everyone was wearing their neon green shirts. They were handing out other shirts. There was everything, lights, everything. It was just a great dual presentation. And I'm, I being a little bit spoiled, having been involved with Rutgers for so long, for about a decade now. Their presentation is top notch in the country. It's hard to beat that. Penn State is great. Iowa's got a great dual atmosphere. So is Oklahoma State. You're talking about teams like that. Utah Valley, give them a lot of props for the dual presentation that they had against Oklahoma State and what they're going to continue to do for the rest of the season. So don't want to bore you too long, and I don't want to get into too many previews yet because it's still early in the week. I know just from a Jersey perspective, Rutgers will go to Virginia Tech on Friday. So for my Jersey folks out there, that's what I'm looking at on Friday. Another big match and a big opportunity for Rutgers to possibly pull off a top 10 upset. The matchups are going to be very intriguing to break down later in the week for at least myself if I don't see you guys on the air. And again, Dean Peterson, that the biggest injury concern for Rutgers right now, that'll be, just to circle back to that, unsure if he'll wrestle on Friday. It's going to depend upon how he deals with the protocol. Obviously, he could not finish on Sunday against NC State. So that'll be one of the big duels this week as we approach the end of November and get closer to December and eventually tournaments and lineup decisions for multiple teams around the country. So the big event that happened this weekend was the All-Star Classic. I'm sure people were watching. I mean, I don't know if you watched that Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight on Friday, or you ended up watching, of course, the UFC pay-per-view with John Jones as the headliner, retaining the heavyweight title. But this is the other big event on Saturday. So I was able to watch this, put it on the second screen. The All-Star Classic with all the D1 college guys, at least, is where I'll break it down right here. Started out Stephen Little from Little Rock getting the tiebreaker victory over Zach Brown of Illinois. Great match. Ty Gadali, how about this match? Knocking off Nick Feldman of Ohio State. So Campbell's heavyweight, and I know there's a lot of discussion about Campbell's program right now. Again, are they going to, the plan is to drop it. They're trying to raise more money. It's very sad situation to see, but when you see Tay, do something like that, it's awesome. I love seeing that, and of course, these are exhibitions, right? So, however, ranking services take these into account, whether they do or don't, you at least see these matches on paper even though they're exhibitions technically. These are real matches, but they're not going to count the official record. But that was very noteworthy to me to see him win that one 8-3. Let's see, Jory Volk beat Tanner Jordan 8-2 from Wyoming and South Dakota State, respectively. Lucas Bird made his return this season. Again, he's been banged up and he's been around for a while, but the impending return of Lucas Bird was something that I said a couple of weeks ago that I was very intrigued to watch, and I wasn't going to put all of my stock into Lucas Bird. Again, a podium contender, maybe a fringe national title contender if he wrestles his best, but I wanted to see how he would be reacclimate to college wrestling after a year off, again, with injury and whatever else was going on. But he beat Nasir Bailey, who was actually my preseason pick to win the national title. We're talking like before the season even started. Bailey was my pick at 133. Bird beat him 1-0. Not much scoring, but guys could scramble a lot, and Bird really impressed me there. Jesse Mendez, Bo Bartlett. Man, look at this. This is a rivalry, but Mendez has won 3 of the last 4 matchups. Can Bartlett catch him? It just seems like Mendez has that extra step for that last takedown. And again, he owns. I don't want to say he owns him right now, but he is certainly on top, and he's clearly the top guy of this weight class. If you're not going to say it's Andrew Ramirez, but it's definitely Mendez over Bartlett right now. Then again, if you want to measure Mendez and Alirez, go for it and debate that. Still very early for me to make a firm statement on that, but Mendez is definitely a slight notch above Bo Bartlett right now, but they're very close. Again, these are all one takedown matches. So could Bartlett beat him? I absolutely believe he can. So again, that was one of the better matches that I like watching. Shane Van Ness, Penn State. Wow, what a return for him at 149. Major Ty Waters, who I really like from West Virginia. He was unbelievable. So Van Ness is probably out to prove that great tournament run a couple of years ago before he was out for the season last year with injury. That the 23 tournament was not a fluke, and so far doesn't look like one. I know it's very early, but putting up 16 points on Ty Waters, no easy task, and he looked really good. Tyler Kasak from Penn State defeated Peyton Keller of Ohio. That score was 4-2. There's a lot of conversation on social media right now as far as what Penn State's actually going to do at 57, where there's reports out there that Alex Facundo dropped down to 57 and he beat Kasak in a wrestle-off. I'll wait to see what Penn State does the rest of the way before making any declarations and saying Kasak or Facundo is going to be in the running for the title or a high spot on the podium, but at least Kasak won right there, so Penn State has options right there now that he bumped up. But if Facundo is indeed back down at 157, and if that is going to be confirmed that he'll be the starter, then maybe we'll ride the Alex Facundo train to potentially a national title for Penn State. 165, Peyton Hall got the pin over Hunter Garvin. Hunter Garvin's faced a brutal schedule so far for Stanford, and he's faced all the top guys. It's tough to stay really consistent when you're wrestling this difficult of a schedule so far to begin the season. And then 174, Levi Haynes, 7-0 over Cade DeVos of South Dakota State. Haynes looks firmly in that weight at 174, bumping up 2 weight classes. No problem for him. And then finally, getting all this out of the way, got to talk the main event. 184, Carter Starace, sudden victory over Parker Keckeisen, top 2 guys in the weight class at 184, 4-1 sudden victory. And I said it before, I think I said I was going to lean Starace ever so slightly in my preseason picks. If memory serves, Keckeisen, he's a national champ. He was dominant last year. Would have gotten my vote for the Hodge Trophy. But Starace moving up a weight class, it's hard to deny him. Going for a 5th national title. This was extremely close, back and forth, but he just had one extra gear than Keckeisen in overtime. These guys run it back, which I would imagine they do in the NCAA finals. I don't see anybody catching these two, to be honest with you. I think they're just by far away the best 2 guys in the weight class. That's nothing against a guy like Dustin Plott, obviously from Oklahoma State, but I think Starace and Keckeisen are just they're levels above the rest of the weight class. Starace just has that little edge right now over Keckeisen just based on this match and his past accolades with four NCAA titles. Keckeisen just to his 1. And again, Keckeisen had to run into Aaron Brooks when Brooks was at 184. Now he's got to deal with Carter Starace at 184. But Starace, to me, I saw a tweet. I think it was from Shane Sparks, my guy. He tweeted out the last few scores from Carter Starace, where the guys he has beaten, and that included just shutouts of the top guys in the country, which included his NCAA title victory over Rocco Welsh from Ohio State, which I believe I saw a report out there. I think it was from a Big Ten Plus broadcast that he is going to redshirt this year. it seems like, and maybe go up to, maybe just solidify himself at 184 and then come back next year. I believe that is the case for Ohio State as they've tinker with the lineup. But Srirachi's been so dominant, even with a 20, what was it, a torn ACL or a knee injury, whatever the heck it was last year, leg injury. He won. He ran through a ridiculous weight class with I believe he was an 8 seed last year in the 24 tournament and still won the title. And now he shows that he's healthy. He's at a new weight. Doesn't have to cut as much weight, and he beat the best guy in the weight class. Simple as that. And I if you don't consider him the favorite now to win it all, I don't know what you're watching. Now, am I going to deny Tech-Mizzou a chance to win the title? Absolutely not. Do I think he's going to beat pretty much everybody else he wrestles this year leading up to a potential NCAA final with Srirachi? Yeah, I do. And I think we're going to see this rematch in March in Philadelphia. Could be, that should be the main event because Srirachi will go for the historic 5th NCAA title, which will never be replicated. I think he's going to get it right now, but I'm not going to say that Tech-Mizzou can't win a similar match like this where it's 4-1 and sudden victory or very close match where it only comes down to one takedown. It's going to be very, very close. But those are my instant takeaways from week 3 of the college wrestling season. Again, tough one for Rutgers against NC State. Virginia Tech really laid the wood on Missouri. Give huge props to Utah Valley's presentation, and then Oklahoma State. Very eager to watch them this year. Just based on that, the lineup looks like it's pretty much solidified. But Oklahoma State, I think, is going to be a big problem for other teams this year as well, especially when we get to tournament time with the individuals that they have. So the David Taylor era is also off to a great start. So quick episode in the books, solo shot. Again, don't want to bore you too much, of course, with all the nitty-gritty details, but love doing these recaps, and I'm interested to see what happens this next coming week. And then, of course, as we get into the holidays, how some of these lineups for a lot of these big teams, a lot of big spots will shake out. Red shirts, non-red shirts, freshmen going in, injuries. We got to talk about it. And then, of course, I'm sure we'll recap what happens with Gable Stevenson's return before too long. So be sure to like and subscribe to this video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and catch out all our content at on3.com. Another edition of On3 Wrestling in the books. We will talk to you next time.